Good evening, everybody. So, today we will start force and motion. In this chapter, you learn explain the cause of motion, concept of force, distinguish between balanced and unbalanced forces, define the term inertia, mass, and momentum, state and explain the three laws of motion, and explain their significance in daily life and nature. Derive a relationship between force, mass, and acceleration. Explain the force of friction and analyze the factors on which it depends. Illustrate and appreciate that rolling friction is less than sliding friction. Cite examples from everyday life where importance of friction can be appreciated, and explain the terms the thrust, pressure, citing example from daily life situations. So let us understand what do you mean by force and motion. Fine. So what is a force? Force is nothing but it is a push or pull acting on an object is known as. So basically, force is a quantity. It is a one of a quantity. So it may be a push or it may be a pull. It may be any kind of a force which has been acting on a body. So at the right side, you can see if either we put a force in a form of a push or it may be in a form of a pull, it is called as a force. Secondly, we have what do you mean by motion? Motion means the change of position of object is called as motion. So so motion is nothing but whenever a person apply a force on an object, it undergoes change of its position. So it will move, change of position in the sense it will move from one place to the another place. So this change of position of an object due to the force, we can say it is called as a motion. So motion we have different types, like it may be a rectilinear, right? Or it may be a circular motion, or it might be a rotational motion, or it might be a periodic motion. Any kind of displacement or any kind of change in position, we can say it is called as a motion. So we will understand, we understood what do you mean by force and motion. Let us understand the types of forces. We have basically two types of motion. One is a two types of forces. First is a balanced force. So what is a balanced force? Balanced force do not change the state of rest of motion of object. So what is a balanced force? It does not change the state of rest of an object. At the right side, you have a diagram. So here the object is under rest, right? Even if we apply the force, there is no change in the position. How is it possible? It is because the two equal forces are acting in an opposite direction. Two equal forces are acting in a opposite direction. As a result, what happens? The object neither moves in any of the directions. So this kind of force where equal forces will act in opposite directions, we call it as a balanced force. Ultimately what happens? There is no change in the position of an object. In another way, we can say, do not change the state of rest or motion of the object. So such kind of forces we call it as a balanced forces. Secondly, we have unbalanced forces. So what do you mean by quite opposite to it, unbalanced force? Unbalanced forces are acting on an object may change the state of rest or motion. So here it is quite opposite to the balanced force. This kind of force will change the state of rest or motion of an object. Say for example, in the case of a tug of war, at the right side you have a diagram, right? Here the two people are standing at the right side and a single person is standing at the left side. So what happens here? There is a movement of a single person towards the right side. So there is a change of position of a person. Why? Because here the force applied is unbalanced. There is more force at the right side and there is a less force at the left side. So such kind of forces where there is no equivalent forces are applied in opposite direction are called unbalanced forces. Okay, very important concept. What do you mean by inertia? So very important term it is. Inertia is the tendency of objects to stay at rest or to keep moving with the same velocity. So what do you mean by inertia? It is a tendency. It is one of a tendency of an object to stay at rest. Either they will stay at rest or to keep on moving with the same velocity. Say for example, if you are football on a ground, unless and until somebody will kick the football, it will stay at rest. So here we can say inertia of the football at rest is to be on the ground unless and until it is kicked by someone else. You can see a pendulum ball here, right? There are so many pendulum balls, they stay at rest unless and until the red pendulum ball will come and hit these balls. Once it hit the balls, they will keep on moving. So this is a tendency of keep on moving. So this is a tendency of keep on moving unless and until somebody will stop it. So this kind of tendency of the objects to stay at rest or keep on moving with the same velocity is called as inertia. So keeping in mind inertia, the Newton has given the laws. He has given a laws of motion. Newton has proposed the three laws of motion. So let us study what is the first laws of motion. What does it states? So Newton's first laws of motion states that every body continues in its state of rest or of uniform motion in a straight line until and unless it is compelled by some unbalanced forces to change that state. So this is the first law of motion proposed by the Newton. So Newton states what does he says? Newton's first law is always linked with the inertia. So only we learned what do you mean by inertia before learning the Newton's first law of motion. So first law states that every body continues, means it will continue to be in a state. It will stay at rest or it continues to be in uniform motion. It will either if it is in motion, it will be always in motion unless and until it is compelled by some unbalanced forces to change that state. When will it change its state? Unless and until it is compelled by some external unbalanced forces to change that state. Say for example, you have a football here, right? At the right side you have a football. So football is a object is at rest, right? So what did the Newton told? The object will be in a state of rest unless and until some unbalanced force acts on it. So it will be at the rest if somebody will kick it. So this kind of state is nothing but first laws of motion. Secondly, he told an object will be in motion. Here the football is moving, down it is moving. So how long it will move? Unless and until some external force acts on it. Somebody will catch the ball or else it will stopped by the friction of the ground, then only it will stop. So such kind of tendency is being stated by the Newton's first laws of motion. Okay, so we understood what is inertia, first laws of motion. Let us understand the most important concept, that what do you mean by momentum? So the impact produced by the objects depends on their mass and velocity, called as momentum. So we will understand this by a very simple example. Say at the right side, you have two vehicles there. One is a bicycle and another is a truck. So if suppose think that we will take it for granted, both of them are moving at the same velocity. So when vehicles will come and hit the boy, So from which vehicle he will get more hurt? Obviously, it is by the truck. It is because it has more mass. So here, the momentum of the truck is more compared to the momentum of the bicycle, right? So what do you mean by momentum? Momentum is nothing but it is the product of mass and velocity, right? It states definition, the impact produced by the object depends on their mass and velocity. It is not only velocity but also the mass. So greater the mass, greater the momentum, greater the velocity, greater the momentum. So in short, we can say capital M is equal to small m into small v. So this is about momentum. Secondly, we have momentum has both magnitude and direction. So momentum has magnitude and direction. It means we can say momentum is a vector quantity. We have two types of quantities. One is scalar and another is a vector. Scalar is the one which has only magnitude, whereas momentum has both the magnitude and direction. And its direction is same as that of the velocity, right? As the velocity in one direction, the momentum also has the same direction. Okay, now we will understand Newton's second laws. So here Newton's second laws of motion is linked with the momentum. So only we learned what do you mean by momentum before learning the Newton's second law. So here Newton's second laws of motion states that rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the force acting on it and takes place in the same direction as the force. Okay, so Newton's second law, what does he says? The change of momentum, rate of change of momentum. What do you mean by rate of change of momentum? In the sense, momentum divided by time, you can say, right? So the change of momentum is directly proportional, means it directly depends on what? It depends on force acting on it. It depends on force acting on it, and it will always takes place in the direction of the force acted on it. So here you can see, in short, we can say Newton's second law, that is force is equal to mass into acceleration. So why acceleration? Acceleration is nothing but velocity by the time. Acceleration is nothing but it is a velocity by the time. So F is equal to m into a. That is rate of change of momentum depends on the force acting on it. So here you have a diagram here, right? See here, that is the force applied by a small you can say cupboard, you can say something object has been sitting on a truck, right? So it is been moving in a one direction, whereas the force acting at the below one should be the more when compared to the force acting on the above one. So momentum with compared to the lower truck is more. I can say the force applied is also more, whereas the momentum at the above truck is less, as well as the force applied is also less. So rate of change of momentum is directly depends on the force acting on the object, and it will always be in the direction of the force applied. Okay, we understood the second law, right? So second law states that is, in short, we can say force is equal to mass into acceleration, which was been Newton's second laws of motion. Thirdly, we have Newton's third laws of motion, very important. So Newton's third laws of motion states that to every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Very simple. For every action we have a equal and opposite reaction. Say for example, you have a cricket ball, right? So whenever you throw a cricket ball either to a floor or to the wall, it will come back with the same force, right? Arrow mark I am showing, right? Blue arrow mark, it is going back with the same force. If you throw the ball with the high force, with the same force come back. So the throwing force is called as an action, and which is coming back is called as a reaction. We told that to every action, whatever it may be, for every action in the nature, there is an equal and opposite reaction. How it will come? It will always come in a opposite direction. So for every action, there is a equal and opposite reaction. So this is a Newton's third laws of motion. So let us sum up all the three laws of motion. So what does the first law states? The first law states about inertia. Every object will stay in a state of rest or in motion unless and until it is compelled by an external force. So first laws of motion is also called as a law of inertia. We can also say Newton's first law of motion is also called law of inertia. Second law states that the Newton's second law states the rate of change of momentum is always directly proportional to the force applied. So he has given a relationship between the force and acceleration. What it is? F is equal to m into a. That is, force is equal to mass into acceleration. So this is a second laws of motion. We can say Newton's second laws of motion states about the momentum. It gives about a momentum. Next, third law. Third law states that for every action, there is a equal and opposite reaction. So these are the three important laws of motion given by the Isaac Newton. Okay, so we have a very important concept about the conservation of momentum. So what do you mean by conservation of momentum? Let us understand it. If two or more objects, if two or more objects collide with each other, if they collide with each other, their total momentum, so we know what is momentum already, right? Their total momentum remains conserved. It remains conserved before and after the collision. Before and after the collision, provided there is no external force acting on them. So what does it states? Suppose if two or more objects collide with each other, the momentum before the collision will be equal to after the collision. What do you mean by remains conserved? Means it remains constant. We can say, what do you mean by conserved? It remains constant. How it is? Before how much was momentum, after also it will be the same momentum. So this is called as conservation of momentum. This is called as what? Conservation of momentum. Say for example, you have two balls here. At the right side you have, one is the orange and green color ball, right? So they are away, right? They are separated by a certain distance and they have certain momentum to each one of them. When they collide with each other, right? When they collide with each other and they start moving in opposite direction. Once they collide, they start moving in a opposite direction. So here, the momentum before the collision, if the momentum before the collision is say A, then the momentum after the collision will also be A. Means during the collision, they do not lose the momentum. So such kind of the character is called as a conservation of momentum. Next, we will understand very important concept, friction. What do you mean by friction? So this is a one we will every day we will see in our daily life. So friction is nothing but external force. It is one of a external force which slows down the motion of objects, the motion of a object which is slowed down by a force, which is slowed down by the force called as a friction. So any object in this nature will slow down. If a moving object will slow down in the nature, we can say it is because of a force called as a friction. Any moving object, if it slows down, it is because of a friction. In another way, we can say friction exists. Friction exists between the surfaces. It exists between the surfaces of all materials which are in contact with each other, which are in contact with each other. So here you can see one of a cupboard has been sitting on a bench. Say for example, it is sitting on a floor. A box has been sitting on a floor. So there is a contact between a box and the floor. There is a contact between the box and the floor, right? So this contact between the box and the floor has some surfaces, and this surface which are in contact with each other has a friction. In between them they have a friction. So friction always slows down a moving object. Say for example, a bicycle has been moving on a road. There is a friction between a road and a tire of a bicycle, right? So it will slow down the bicycle. Any object moving on this nature will always experience the friction and it will slow down it. So we have a types of friction, right? We have a types of friction. First one, it is a static friction, right? What is static friction? The resistive force before the body starts moving on the surface is called as a static friction. Basically, we can say friction is one of a opposition force. It is one of a opposition force. Like if we say static in the sense, if an object is at rest, it will also experience some force. What kind of force? Resistive force. So such kind of resistive force is called as a static friction. So here you can see here, right? A person is been pulling a bench, right? So when it is at the rest on the floor, right? It is in contact with the floor and there exists some force, right? And that force is called as a static friction. Suppose this bench is having some wheels. Suppose think that we have a wheels for this bench. It is very easy to pull it. Why? Because the contact between the floor and the bench will be less. As a result, the static friction will be less, right? So lesser the static friction, easier we can pull the bench, right? So static friction always opposes the movement of the objects which are at the rest. Second type of friction is a sliding friction. Next we have, that is a sliding friction. So what do you mean by sliding friction? A body starts moving. A body starts moving on a surface. The friction between them is called as a sliding friction, or it is also called as a kinetic friction, right? So whenever you allow some object to slide on a any slant surfaces, right, they do not move very fast. It depends on the contact between them. It depends on the contact between them, right? So such kind of force between these two objects which are being sliding on a bench is called as a sliding friction. Suppose if you allow a marble ball, it will move very fast, right? Whereas you can say any wooden box, it will move very slow, right? So it depends upon a contact between both of them. So such kind of friction is a static friction or a kinetic friction. Let us understand the advantages of friction. So here, advantages of friction. The tires of automobiles are treaded. They are being treaded to increase the friction between the tires and the surfaces of the road. Thus, the tires get better grip with the ground. They get the better grip with the ground. If the brakes are applied, in automobiles also work only due to the friction. Okay, so here the friction not only opposes the movement of the objects, at the same time we have some advantages of friction. How it is? Say for example, we have seen most of the bikes or most of the vehicles getting skid on the road, right? They get skid on the road. It may be during the raining, or it may be due to a sandy surface on a roads, right? They get skidded. So to prevent the skidding, why do they get skid? Because of the less friction. Because of the less friction. So what happens? The tires of some automobiles are being treaded. They are being treaded to increase the friction. Means if there is more friction with the tires and roads, the skidding, the chances of skidding will be reduced. The chances of getting skid will be reduced. Even when brakes are applied suddenly, we have seen some bikes getting skid, right? So there, why do they skid? Is because of the less friction. So if there is a presence of a friction between the tires and the roads, most of the accidents will be prevented. So we have some advantages with the friction. At the same time, we have some disadvantages of friction. What it is? The friction also reduces the efficiency of machines, as considerable amount of energy is wasted in overcoming the friction, right? So some of the vehicles, most of the machines will not work properly. Say for example, the ball bearings of the machines do not work properly, right? So engine do not work properly is because of the excess of friction within them. So they use excess of energy. They use a high amount of energy if there is a more friction. So greater the friction, lesser the efficiency of the machines. So this is one of the disadvantages of the friction. Okay, so we understood there are so many advantages and disadvantages of friction. Say for example, if you want to catch a fish from the water, right, you cannot hold the fish suddenly. It is because of the friction in the on the body surface of the fish, right? So some of the disadvantages we learned. Let us understand the next important concept, that is a thrust and pressure. What do you mean by thrust and pressure? So here the thrust is nothing but the force acting upon the surface of a body, the force acting upon a surface of a body perpendicular to it. Very important. Perpendicular to it is called as thrust, right? So if you apply a force on a body, and if you apply in a perpendicular direction, what do you mean by perpendicular? Say here, see here at the right side, a boy is been applying a force on a surface of a floor, right? How he is applying? See the direction of arrow mark, it is exactly perpendicular. So such kind of force which has been applied in a perpendicular direction on a body is called as thrust. What it is called? The term is called as a thrust. The next important term, pressure. What do you mean by pressure? The thrust on a unit area. What is a pressure? The thrust on a unit area is called as a pressure. So per unit area, how much thrust is applied? It is called as a pressure. So pressure, we have a mathematical form. Pressure is equal to thrust by area. We have pressure is equal to thrust by area. It is called as a pressure. So the SI unit of a pressure is Newton per meter square. What is the SI unit? Newton per meter square. What is Newton? Newton is nothing but it is a unit for force. Per meter square is because of a unit for the area. So it is Newton per meter square. Okay, so we will discuss some of the question answers. While catching a ball, a player pulls down his hands to lower the direction of the ball. So what does he do? Whenever he want to catch a ball, he will pull his hand downwards. It is to lower the, it is to lower what? It is to lower the force, or is it to lower the momentum, or impulse, or it is catching time? So why does he pulls his hand downward? It is to lower the force, momentum, impulse, or catching time. Okay. From Kavya, we got second option. It is to lower the momentum. Okay. So why does he pull his hand? Okay, Suma Basuraju from Momentum. Superb. Okay, fine, fine. We will see the answer. It is to lower the momentum. Exactly, both are true. See, by how it is, a cricketer lowers his hand while taking a catch to decrease the rate of momentum. So what we discussed, what is the rate of momentum? The momentum is nothing but it is a product of mass and velocity. Okay, it is to the product of mass and velocity. So why does he take his hand down? Because to decrease the rate of momentum. Cricketers increase the time by pulling their hands backward with the ball while taking a catch. They increase the time while catching a ball, right? Linear momentum or translational momentum is the product of mass and velocity of an object. So what is it? It is a product of mass and velocity of an object. So to decrease the momentum, they always pull their hands downwards by catching a ball. When milk is churned, right? When milk is churned, the cream separates from it due to, so churned in the sense like to make a buttermilk will do, no? So that is a churn. When milk is churned, the cream, whatever we get, the cream separates from it. Why does it separate? Is it due to frictional force or centrifugal force, gravitational force, or viscous force? From Suma Basuraju, we got second option. Very good. Tulasi, fourth option, viscous force. Most of them are giving second. Rohini V, centrifugal force. Very good. Okay. Fine. So why it separates? Shalini, second option, centrifugal force. Okay, we'll see the answer. It is the second option, centrifugal force. Exactly. So it is separated. That is, a cream is being separated due to the differences in density. So why does it separate? Basically, is because of the differences in its density. The centrifuge works using the sedimentation principle. So we have a machine that is centrifuge. It works on a principle of a sedimentation where the centrifugal acceleration cause denser substances and particles to move outward in a direction. Always the denser substances or the particles will move outwards. At the same time, objects that are less denser, objects that are less denser are displaced and move to the center. That is, lighter object will move at the center and the heavier objects will move to the radial direction. So this is how the milk always separates the cream force. Water drops cannot stick to the oily surface due to, right? So whenever either oil do not stick to the water, or water drops also cannot stick to the oily surface. What is the reason? It is due to lack of adhesive force, right? Is it due to lack of adhesive force, or is it because of surface tension, or cannot mix each other, or water is lighter than oil? Okay, from Divya we got surface tension. Fine. Yeah, Suma, we got lack of adhesive force. Okay, lack of adhesive force. Okay, from Bhavna also we got lack of adhesive force. Okay, Tulasi we got cannot mix each other. Yes, why? That is the reason we want. Why do they do not mix each other? Cannot mix each other. Okay. Okay, Kavya, water is lighter than oil. Shalini, we got surface tension. Fine. Any more answers? Try. Okay. Let me see the answer. It is because of lack of adhesive force. So we have two types of forces, adhesive force and cohesive force, right? So what do you mean by adhesive force? Let us understand. If you understand adhesive, we will understand cohesive. Adhesive forces are the attractive forces between unlike molecules. Very important. They are the forces between the unlike molecules. They are caused by the forces acting between two substances, such as it may be a mechanical forces that is sticking together and electrostatic forces, that is attraction due to the opposing charges. So here the adhesive force is nothing but it is a force between two unlike, like water and oil, they are different. Or cohesive, water to water droplets, it is a cohesive forces. So here they do not stick each other because of lack of adhesive force. When a running car stops suddenly, right? When a running car stops suddenly, the passengers tends to lean forward. They always tends to lean forward because of, okay? Is it because of the centrifugal force? Or is it because of inertia of rest? Or is it because of inertia of motion or gravitational force? So, any answers? From Kavya, we got third option, inertia of motion. Okay, very good. Rohini, third option. Tulsi, third. Superb. Divya, we got third option. Okay. Shalini, third. Hafsa, superb. Most of them are giving option 3. Varsha, also 3. Okay, let me see the answer. So it is because of the inertia of motion. Exactly. So we learned about inertia, right? So here the car is running. So obviously it is inertia of motion. When a car, when a running car stops suddenly, the passenger tends to lean forward because of inertia of motion. Now when we apply brake or stop, it suddenly car goes to stop, but the passenger of car tends to lean forward due to inertia of motion. Means here the passenger is also in motion along with the car. So when the car stops, the passenger also tends to move, but he also stops suddenly. But before stopping, he will lean forward and then he stops. So it is because of inertia of motion. So here we have one of the question, why not they cannot mix each other, like, so here see here they cannot mix each other because they are different objects, water and oil, they have different density, you can say. They are immiscible liquids. In another way, we can say they are the immiscible liquids. So they cannot mix each other. But what they are asking, why cannot they mix each other? The question is that why they cannot mix each other. So we have to give the reason accordingly. So it is a lack of adhesive force. So third option cannot be correct. Right? They are already telling it will not stick. It is nothing but they cannot mix each other. So option 3 cannot be the right answer. Okay, we'll go to the fifth question. No. So here Newton's first laws of motion gives the concept of, right? So we learned about the Newton first laws of motion. It gives a concept of, is it a energy or work, momentum, inertia? Very fast. From Rohini we got fourth option, it is an inertia. Fine. From Kavya, fourth option. Fine. Bhavana, 4. Okay. Varsha. Fine. Many of the people. Suma Basuraju, we got inertia. Very good. Tulasi also, fourth option. Super. Okay, Hafsa. So many people are giving. So option, obviously it is a fourth. It states about a law of inertia. Newton's first law. first laws of motion gives the concept of inertia. Fine. So let me go through it. The first law states that if the net force, if the net force of all the forces acting on an object is zero, then the velocity of the object is constant, right? Newton's first law is often referred to as a law of inertia. It is often always referred to a law of inertia. Thus, a condition necessary for the uniform motion of a particle relative to an inertial reference frame is that total net force acting on it is zero. Means unless and until the net force acting on it is zero, the objects will always be at the rest. So they stay at the rest or uniform motion unless and until a unbalanced force act on them, right? That's what the Newton's first laws of motion states. So it states about the law of inertia. Which conservation principle is applicable in the case of rocket? So we have seen, right? So which conservation principle is applicable out of this? Is it a conservation of mass or conservation of momentum, or is it a conservation of energy? Okay, so which conservation of principle is applicable? Okay, from Suma Vasaraj we got it is a conservation of momentum. Okay, from Divya, third option. Bhavana, three. Okay, very good. So most of you are giving third option. Any more answers? Conservation of momentum, charge, mass, or energy. Tulasi, option three. Okay. Any more answers? Fine. Ranjita. Okay. Yogeshwari, yes. Fourth option. Okay. Think what is conservation of energy states and what does the conservation of momentum states? Accordingly, you have to think. So in case of rocket, yes, it is Hafsa, option three. Fine. Any more answers? Okay. So we'll see the answer. It is conservation of momentum. See, conservation of energy states, what does it states? Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed, but it can be transferred from one form to the another form. But here, in the case of rock, momentum states that before collision and the after the collision, the total momentum will always be same, right? So in case of rocket, it is a conservation of momentum. It will always follow the principle of conservation of momentum. Let us see. So here, the rockets are a fantastic illustration of a momentum conservation, which is a linear momentum. Here we can say the rockets are the linear momentum, right? Where the fuel which has been burnt will collide to the floor. As a result, the rocket will be what it will be sent to the space, right? So here the exhaust gases provide a momentum in one direction. That's what the exhaust gases provide the momentum in one direction, so that the rocket itself has to obtain the momentum in the another. So we can say it is a linear momentum, but it is not a energy, because we are not transferring from one form to another form, right? So it is a conservation of momentum is a right answer. A person is hurt, right, on kicking a stone due to, so he tried to kick something, right, he tried to kick a stone, he got hurt, right? What might be the reason? It is due to inertia, or it is due to velocity, or it is due to reaction, or it may be due to momentum. What is the reason for the hurt? Okay, option 3 we got from okay, Suma, we got first. Why it is first? Okay, from Hafsa we got option 4. Bhavana, yes, 3, third option. Tulsi, third option. Ashwini, someone, we got fourth one. Tulsi, third option, okay. See, whenever we hit a stone, if the stone will move, why does it move? It is because of inertia, we can say. But here they're asking he got hurt. What is the reason? What is the reason for hurt to his leg on kicking a stone? What is the reason? Okay, fine. We see the answer, it is option 3, reaction, that is Newton's third laws of motion, right? Person is hurt by kicking a stone because every action has an equal and opposite reaction. He has given an action. What is his action? Kick. What is the reaction to him? That is a hurt to his leg, right? The moment the person kicks, he or she exerts a pressure on the stone. He exerts a pressure on the stone. However, at the same time, the same stone exerts the pressure on the individual. As a result, the leg gets the hurt. A bomb at rest explodes into a large number of tiny fragments, right? It explodes into a large number of tiny fragments. The total momentum of all the fragments, what will be happen? Is it zero? The total momentum of all the fragments will be zero, or it depends on the total mass of all the fragments, or it depends on the speed of various fragments, or is it is infinity? They are not telling what is the momentum of the bomb. They are just telling a bomb is at rest. Very important. A bomb is at rest, explodes into a large number of tiny fragments. The total momentum of all the fragments is it zero? Depends on total mass of all the fragments. It depends on the speed of various fragments, or is it at infinity? Tulsi, we got first option zero. Okay. Any more answers? From Suma, we got second one, Bhavana second, Varsha second, Hafsa second. Okay. So many people second option. Fine. Yogeshwari second option. Fine. Any more answers? A bomb at rest explodes into a large number of tiny fragments. The total momentum of all the fragments. Think of it. Momentum definition based on it is it zero? Depends on total mass of all the fragments. Depend on the speed of the various fragments, or is it at infinity? Okay. Any more answers? We'll see the answer then. Fine. Exactly, it is a zero. Okay. So why it is zero? Any this one? It obeys the mass of conservation of momentum. So we have what does it states? The momentum before the collision is equal to the momentum after the collision, right? So that is a law of conservation of momentum states. At the same time, what is the derivation for what is the mathematical form of momentum? Momentum is equal to mass into velocity. We have momentum is equal to mass into velocity. So here they are telling the bomb is at rest. It means that the momentum of the bomb is zero since it is at rest. So we can say V is zero. V is nothing but V is zero here because the bomb is at the rest. So obviously the total momentum of all the fragments will also be zero. The function of ball bearings in a wheel is, so we have a ball bearings in a wheel, right? What is their function? Is it to increase the friction, or if it is in rest, how it explodes? Yeah, it explodes obviously. How does it explode? Whenever the energy is increased in a bomb, it will be explode. See, we don't, they are providing us some, this one opinion, they are providing some constants. The question, how is the question? We have to think it. They are already telling the bomb is at rest. right? They are telling us the bomb is at rest. It may be moving, it may be running, that is secondary. The bomb is at rest means V is 0. We should think accordingly to the question. So if V is 0, all the fragments will also be 0. So in that way, we have to think, right? So let me move for the ninth one. The function of a ball bearing in a wheel is, right? What it is? It is to increase the friction, or it is to convert the kinetic friction into rolling friction, or is it to convert the static friction into kinetic friction, or is it just for convenience? So what is the function of a ball bearings in a wheel? To increase the friction, or to convert the kinetic friction into rolling friction, or is it to convert the static friction into kinetic friction, or just for convenience? Any answers? Okay, from Hafsa we got second option. Very good. To convert the kinetic friction into rolling friction. From Suma Basaraju we got third option. Okay, static friction into kinetic friction. Tulasi we got second option. Okay, very good. That is kinetic to rolling friction. Any more answers? Okay. From Priyanka, we got second option, kinetic friction into rolling friction. Fine. We'll see the answer. It is second option, to convert the kinetic friction into the rolling friction. Ball bearings reduces the wear and tear and energy loss against the friction. So what is their function? Basically to reduce the wear and tear and the energy loss against the friction. The friction of a ball bearing in a wheel is to convert, what is their function? Basically to convert the kinetic friction into the rolling friction. The purpose of a ball bearing is to reduce rotational friction, that is nothing but rotational friction, and support radial and axial loads. Vehicle tires are inflated properly, right? They're inflated properly. Why? Because to ensure smooth running, or is it to allow the vehicle to take more load, or to avoid skidding and to minimize the friction, or to go fast and save fuel? What is the purpose? The tires are being inflated. Okay, from Suma Baswaraju we got to avoid skidding and to minimize friction. Okay, from Tulasi we got third option. Varsha, third option. Fine. Divya Bansal, third. Bhavanatri, most of you going for the option 3. Okay, we will see the answer. So obviously it is a third option. We already learned about it. Vehicles are being inflated because to avoid the skidding and to minimize the friction. Okay, let me see the answer. It is option 3. Okay. Maintaining the ideal tire pressure for your specific vehicle is essential for its proper operation and management, right? Having tires that are not inflated properly can result in a damage to your car, and more importantly, can increase your chances of having an accident and also increase the tire wear, right? So we have to get our vehicle tires properly inflated. When the velocity of a body is doubled, right, what happens? What is a possibility? When the velocity of a body is doubled, its potential energy is doubled. P is nothing but potential energy is doubled, its acceleration is doubled, its kinetic energy is doubled, or its momentum is doubled. So what happens when the velocity of a body is doubled? what happens? Potential energy is doubled, or consent to this, we have already learned about it. Okay, its acceleration is doubled from Suma Basuraju. From Kavya, it is momentum is doubled. Okay, Bhavana, fourth option, momentum is doubled. Tulasi, 4, very good. Harsha, also 4. Any other answers? Okay, why it is second option? From Suma we got second option, think of it. Priyanka, we got fourth option. Okay, fine. Any other answers? It's very simple. Okay, from Varsha also we got fourth. Fine. So we'll see the answer. Obviously, it is a fourth option. Its momentum is doubled. Because momentum is nothing but it is a mass into velocity. What is a momentum? It is nothing but it is a mass into velocity. So if the velocity is doubled, momentum is also doubled. The strongest force in nature is, which is the strongest force out of the all the four? Is it an electrical force, or is it a gravitational force, or is it a nuclear force, or a magnetic force? Okay, from Rohini we got, that is third option, nuclear force. From Rohini, third option. Varsha, okay, most of you, three, option 3. Harsha, option 3, okay. Tulasi, second one, gravitational force, okay. Priyanka, option 3, fine. Yogeshwari, 3. Suma, second one. Any other answers? Okay, so we'll see the answer. It is a it is a nuclear forces. So what is nuclear force? It is one of the strongest force in the nature. Why? Because nuclear force, it is also a nucleon. Nucleon is the interaction or a residual strong force. It is a force between the two or more nucleons. What do you mean by nucleons? It is nothing but the protons and the neutrons in the nucleus are called as a nucleons. It is responsible for binding of protons and the neutrons within a nuclei, that is a atomic nuclei. The energy released causes the masses of the nuclei to be less than the total mass of protons and neutrons which form them. This is the energy which is used in the nuclear power and the nuclear weapons. So it is one of the strongest force which hold together the nucleons within the nuclei of an atom. Nuclear energy depends on the gravitational force. No, I don't, it doesn't depend on gravitational force. It depends upon the binding forces between the nucleons. It depends on the binding forces between the nucleons. Next, we will see 13th question. A single fixed pulley is used to draw water from a well because, right? It is being used to draw the water from the well. Why we will use that? Because efficiency is 100%, or velocity is low, or is it because mechanical advantage is high, or the force is applied in a convenient direction? We will use only a single fixed pulley to draw the water from a well. Why? If we use a single fixed pulley, efficiency will be 100%, or the velocity ratio will be low, or its mechanical advantage is high there, or force is applied in a convenient direction. What is the reason? So you all are familiar with the pulley, right? So option 4 from Varsha, from Divya also we got. Aksha, fourth option. Okay. For Tulasi, fourth option. Most of you going for option 4. Any other answers? Okay, we'll see. Answer it is a fourth option. Obviously, force is applied in a convenient direction. When we use a single pulley, obviously the force will be applied only a single direction. So we use a single fixed pulley. Okay, let me go through it. It is easy to draw from a well using a pulley because it helps in changing the direction of a force applied, right? This in turn makes it easy to move the object. It makes easy for the object to pull in upward direction. In this case, the pulley helps in lifting the bucket full of water upwards. We can lift the full of water bucket in upward direction. So we use a single fixed pulley for a well, right? Okay. We'll go for the conclusion part. Fine. In this chapter, what all we learned, let us sum up once. We have explained the cause of motion and concept of force, and we distinguished between balanced force and unbalanced forces. Yes. We also learned, define the term inertia, mass, momentum, right? And also we state and explain the three laws of motion, Newton's three laws of motion, and explain their significance in daily nature and life. And also we derive a relationship between force, mass and acceleration. That is, what is force, mass, and force is equal to mass into acceleration. We also explain the force of friction and analyze the factors on which it depends. And also we illustrate and appreciate that rolling friction is less than the sliding friction. We also cite some examples from everyday life where the importance of friction can be appreciated. And lastly, we explain the term thrust and pressure, citing some examples from daily life situations, right? So these are some of the important concepts for today's class, right? So any queries, doubts, please welcome. You are free to ask concerned to this chapter. Any doubts? So please visit the edurapid.com website, okay? And please practice some of the questions. Prepare for your exams. Any doubts, you are welcome. Okay. Okay, thank you all.